Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here, and I am trying out the video format today. The only issue that I'm going to have is that my notes are right here, and so when I'm looking over here to talk, you guys are going to be like, what the hell is he doing? So anyways, I just watched a movie that has gotten some attention because people have been talking about how movies have been bombing recently in theaters. This one in particular, Fall Guy or The Fall Guy. Let's check to see. I think it was The Fall Guy. Yeah, I was right. It was only in theaters for like a week or two or something, and then they released it to streaming. There's a lot of weird decisions around this movie that feel like it was a little sabotage. Like, it feels like this should have been a big success, because, I mean, it was pretty good, honestly. Excuse me. This is all about Ryan Gosling, and he is a stuntman, of course, and he gets into a really bad accident. And he also works with Emily Blunt on movies, her character, Jodie. He works with her, he's in love with her. They have a little bit of a on and off relationship going on. And a year later, after he has recovered from the incident, and he has been ignoring her the whole time, he comes back into the game to work on a movie that she's directing, and also possibly solve a mystery, or as they say in the summary, a conspiracy. And yeah, as I said, I kind of like this movie. It wasn't as good as Bullet Train. I thought that Bullet Train had much better pacing. It had a lot better action. It wasn't as goofy. Like, this movie, it has a lot of good comedy intermixed throughout the movie, but then there's a lot of like really like cheesy moments that feel like they want, and they describe it in the movie too. Well, the agent does, that they have this female agent, and she's, I can't remember what her name is because they just keep on calling her agent, but she's like, you have to take the message of a movie and wrap it in sexy bacon or something like that. And I feel like this movie has too much sexy bacon wrapped around it. It has too much fluff on the outside of like the inner part. And so there's a lot of moments in the movie where you're supposed to take them seriously and you just can't, because like the movie is just too much like comedy, goofing off, just silly action that's like, in Bullet Train, you were really, those action sequences were intense. You were afraid for the main character to get hurt even. And in this, it's just kind of like, well, he's a stuntman. He gets hurt all the time. So, but I would say, though, that I like the idea of the movie a lot more than I like the movie and it's the execution of it, I guess. Because, like, Hollywood, they have a long history with, I think we almost lost power because of the storms or something. I don't know. Anyways, Hollywood has a long history of not respecting stuntmen and treating them like the other. And so I guess it's good to see them finally get their due with like a movie like this, and then it fails. And I would say that, like, yeah, no wonder it failed, because like Hollywood, they don't romanticize stuntmen's work. They don't, until this movie, and so how are people gonna get excited to go see this movie when they've lived their whole lives thinking like, oh, what stuntmen, like, they don't even have an Oscar, they don't even have a category at the Oscars, so like, who cares about the movie about the stuntmen with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt? And I'm not trying to be mean and say that like they're not valuable people on movie making. They are extremely valuable, But what I'm saying is that, like, I don't know, like, because another thing is, like, I didn't even know this movie existed. Okay, like, I heard the title, I heard The Fall Guy. A fan told me that The Fall Guy was really good. I think I saw a picture of Ryan Gosling, but I had no idea that this movie even existed. So it's like, I don't know. There were a lot of components, I think, into why this movie was not really a box office hit. And another thing is, too, have you guys seen Ryan Gosling's face lately? I mean, here, I'm going to do his face. Because I look a little bit like Ryan Gosling. I will say that, Not a lot, but just a little. So remember how Ryan Gosling used to look like this? He used to look like, hey, I'm a nice guy. And I'm a handsome guy. I'm in La La Land. La La Land. La La Land. Now do you know what he looks like? Hey, I'm Ryan Gosling. I didn't have enough Ozempic this morning. I didn't have enough baby blood. Hey, I'm Ryan Gosling. I'm the Fall Guy. Hey, thumbs up. That's Ryan Gosling. So I just wanted to get that out of the way, because, like, if you guys noticed that, like, it reminds me, because it's like in some shots Ryan Gosling looks normal. He looks like back a couple of years ago, but in some shots, remember when Jesse Plemons was in El Camino and everyone was really surprised how he looked? That's what it reminds me of. Except at least Jesse Plemons, he's a great actor, and well, Ryan Gosling is too, I guess. So I don't know what it was with that. I just wanted to, I thought of that, and I just wanted to make the Ryan Gosling face. Anyways, so I want to go through, like, the things that I liked. I love the split screen scene. There's the scene where Emily Blunt and him are on the phone, and she's like, split screen, and then the screen turns into two screens, and it's them talking to each other and kind of paralleling each other. I thought that was really cool. I liked some of the action. I liked the message in the movie. I guess this was the message that all people want out of a movie is just a little bit of hope. It's true. It's very true. But not all the time, I mean, just a slimmer, just a little glimmer of hope. Not a slimmer of hope. That's stupid. And then I would also say that I liked the fact that, what this movie reminded me of? 3 movies. So if you like any of these 3, you might like this one. Last Action Hero, which I would say is the most underrated Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. I actually really, really loved that movie after rewatching it again last year. Number 2, Tropic Thunder, for obvious reasons. Even at the end of this movie, too, like, they have, like, a fake movie trailer, and, yeah. But not too much like Tropic Thunder. Like, it doesn't have the edgy humor that Tropic Thunder has, so it's like still playing it safe, very much like playing it safe, this movie. And then also Kiss Kiss Bang Bang kind of reminded me of that too. Although I would say Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was a little bit more intriguing with the mystery in that movie. This movie's mystery was kind of intriguing, and then it wasn't, because it became very predictable, and it became like, oh, well, I knew who that was. I knew that would happen. Like, that's not surprising. So, that there were some problems with this movie too. And I know that I sound very negative, but I mean, I don't know, like, I think that this movie could have been a lot better. and I think it's just like okay, you know. Bullet Train was so much better. So if you really want to see a good action movie, go back and rewatch Bullet Train. And I mean, this movie, it's not even in theaters anymore. I mean, you can watch it on streaming, so you should watch that too. One issue I had was the pacing. This movie had terrible, terrible pacing issues. Bullet Train felt like a non-stop roller coaster. It felt like you were on that bullet train. You were just through the movie. It was intense. It was action-packed. It had some funny stuff in it. It had good characters. Oh, some good characters. A good villain. This movie just was very, very slow in a lot of instances. Like, it took the movie, I think 30 minutes to get going, to set up all these characters, and it took so long for such a simple story of a stunt guy who's in love with a woman who he works with, gets injured, comes back a year later, has to solve a mystery. That took me 5 sentences, or parts of sentences, to explain, and yet that's stretched out to 40 or so minutes, and then the movie finally gets started. And then there are other sequences where it just slows down and slows down. And then, even in the last act, that kind of, drags on a little bit. So this movie, I would say the biggest issue for me is probably the pacing. Because, I was kind of checking the time at the end of the movie, which I was kind of oh. Because, I mean, these are good actors. It's a well-made movie. They had good intentions. It's just not great execution. Another thing that I would say that was not a problem in Bullet Train at all, which was a lot of people know how to fight too conveniently, and that wasn't believable for me. For instance, there's this part, and this is not a spoiler, there's this part where an actress, and she's just an actress, she fights the stunt guy in the apartment or whatever of another actor that she's in a relationship with. And it's just it's just unbelievable that she would know how to fight how she does in the sequence. And then there's other parts in the movie where other random side characters have to all of a sudden fight people. And it doesn't work. It didn't work for me at all, because it just felt like there's no way that this is actually how it would happen in real life. It's just not believable to me at all. Even in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, yes, Cliff Booth beat the ever-loving shit out of those bad guys, but then Leo's character, he did a couple of things, and then he ran out in the backyard and got his flamethrower. He wasn't going oh, no, what's away? Whoa, I was just the comedic side character, and then all of a sudden I can fight. Oh, no, that's stupid. That's fucking stupid. Let's see what else we got going on here. Oh yeah, there was one last thing I didn't like. Actually, I should say, what's my favorite part of the movie? I like the part, I guess, where the bad guys attack the apartment, because they set up a lot of these weapons in the apartment, and just kind of the dynamic between the characters as they fought there. I thought that was a pretty good sequence. Excuse me. And it was a lot more realistic, because in that sequence, one of the comedic side characters, they had to rely on the main character saving their ass over and over and over again. So it wasn't like they were just taking on bad guys, and it really wasn't that out there compared to other parts in the movie. But yeah, I mean, overall, it wasn't a bad movie. It wasn't a terrible movie either. It was just okay, pretty goodish. Um, but my last complaint, this is my very last complaint, I promise you. A lot of people nowadays complain about self inserts, which is just a fancy word for like personalizing your story and trying to make people like, or trying to really put your emotions out there in a movie form, and put things that have happened to you and kind of like transform them into something great. People have done that since the beginning of time. Every single movie is about someone. Like, no matter, like, if you make the movie about yourself, if you make the movie about another person, every single movie that's ever been made is in some way, shape, or form about someone else or you yourself. But there's this term nowadays called self-inserting, where, like, a movie will have, like, let's say if I put myself in a movie, which I am, you're damn straight I am, because it's more convenient that way, you know, trust me. And, but anyways, a lot of people criticize that, and I can get where they're coming from a lot of the times, because a lot of the times these self-insert movies are terrible, and they're very, very shallow and narcissistic, and but there's something else that I personally find a lot worse and a lot more like ugh. And that is this thing where, okay, so the characters in the, or Emily Blunt's character, this is not really a spoiler. The movie that she's making, Metal Storm, it's all about this space cowboy and this alien girl, or just a regular, I can't remember. I don't even think they showed the, or they did, or I literally can't remember. Sorry, I literally just watched the movie too. But the movie's all about how they had this romance, and there's this long, and I thought that that was another funny joke though, was when Emily Blunt, she was trying to get Ryan Gosling into character, and so she went on this long diatribe about how, you know, they had this little fling, or not even a fling, it was like a mini fling, and then a year later after he disappeared, and it's like, she wrote this movie and made this whole movie to like go through that, what happened to her with her and Ryan Gosling, and I just felt like that is so weird. It is so weird, because you think about, it's one thing to transform something that happened to you, like to make it something of your own, or to make it something else, like let's say exactly what happened with her. I don't know, not interesting enough for me. Never mind, because I don't really like romance stories a whole lot. Well, actually, I do. I don't. Why did I say that? But like, I can't stand this thing where, like, in movies and shows, where they're making a movie and it just so happens to be all about what happened in real life, and like they talk extensively on the phone and things about how, oh, but the characters, maybe that character will come back, and would this character ever be interested in that character ever again? It's so weird. It's so weird. It's almost like, remember that thing where, like, you know, show me on the doll where that person hurt you? It's almost like two grown adults get a couple of like action figures, and they're like, so your action figure molested my action figure. It really made my action figure feel bad. How does your action figure feel about that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just can't stand it. So I really didn't like that either, you know. Because, like, I'll give you an example of something that was good. Californication Season 5. And that, or wait, yeah. No, wait. Yes. In that season, there's a lot of storylines going on. There's a lot of characters and character arcs and things. But the movie that they're making throughout that season is called Santa Monica Cop. And it's basically like a parody of Beverly Hills Cop. And it doesn't have anything to do with what's going on in real life. And it was really good. I would highly recommend Californication. It's probably my favorite TV show of all time. So, now we get to the part where I rate this movie in terms of food. I would say that this movie it's like a fun time, but you just kind of have to just relax and let it, like, what I really did like though was the main two characters working together in the end. You know, they were both working on this movie together. They were both heavily in love with each other, and they both defeated the bad guy together. And, you know, I really liked how instead of, like, her becoming, like, the strong, independent female character and doing everything by herself, I liked that they both worked together and did things to solve the problem in the end. You know, that's what I'd like to see more of in Hollywood nowadays, is, like, men and women working together and not, like, separately, you know? But you really have to, like, be patient with the movie, because the movie has terrible pacing, and just have a fun time like I kind of did. So I would give this movie a big slushie with popcorn. Boom. Now, please like, comment, tell me what you think of my 2024 Ryan Gosling face. Am I as handsome as Ryan Gosling? Okay, everybody, please subscribe. Goodbye.